The KLYRN were a race of beings who had long abandoned the concept of storytelling. On their distant homeworld, logic and efficiency reigned supreme. Art, music, and narrative were relics of a forgotten past, deemed irrelevant to a civilization that prided itself on technological superiority. For centuries, the KLYRN had expanded their reach across the galaxy, observing other species with a mix of curiosity and disdain. When they turned their attention to Earth, they found a species riddled with contradictions. Humans, though capable of innovation, seemed preoccupied with what the KLYRN considered frivolous: music, literature, and above all, cinema. The KLYRN cataloged Earth's vast film archives with their characteristic thoroughness, dismissing the medium as a primitive form of entertainment. A diversion, their analysts concluded, of no strategic or intellectual value. That perspective held firm until the day the KLYRN fleet arrived in Earth's orbit. The KLYRN had not come to conquer but to demand cooperation. They sought access to Earth's natural resources to support their ever-expanding empire. Negotiations with humanity's leaders began on a tense note, with both sides struggling to find common ground. Despite humanity's best efforts to convey their desire for peace, the KLYRN remained skeptical, their communications tinged with condescension. One evening, during a particularly contentious negotiation, a curious thing happened. The KLYRN delegation, stationed aboard their flagship orbiting Earth, intercepted a signal emanating from the planet below. It was a broadcast of an old movie, a relic from the 20th century called Casablanca. Intrigued by the unexpected transmission, the KLYRN analysts decided to study it as a curiosity. What they witnessed was unlike anything they had encountered before. The film's grainy black and white visuals, its enigmatic characters, and its poignant dialogue seemed to defy the KLYRN's understanding of communication. They were particularly captivated by the central themes of loyalty, sacrifice, and love, concepts that, though not alien to them, had been long buried beneath their devotion to logic. The KLYRN High Commander, Vorith, was among those who viewed the film. At first, he regarded it with detached curiosity, analyzing its structure and dialogue with the precision of a mathematician. But as the story unfolded, something unexpected happened. Vorith found himself drawn to the character of Rick Blaine, a man caught between his personal desires and a greater cause. There was a raw humanity in Rick's struggles, a complexity that resonated with the commander in ways he could not explain. By the time the film reached its iconic climax, Rick's sacrifice at the Casablanca airport, Vorith felt a stirring within him, a faint echo of emotions he had thought long extinguished. Though he would never admit it to his subordinates, the film had moved him. Unbeknownst to Vorith, the broadcast of Casablanca had been no accident. A young communications officer named Lila Carver, stationed at a remote facility in Nevada, had sent the film into space as a desperate act of diplomacy. Frustrated by the stalemate in negotiations, she had chosen Casablanca not for its strategic value, but for its ability to convey the universal language of the human experience. If they don't understand words, she reasoned, maybe they'll understand stories. Her gamble paid off. The following day, the KLYRN delegation requested a private meeting with Earth's leaders. Vorith, uncharacteristically solemn, began the discussion with a question. "This Casablanca," he said, his voice tinged with something approaching reverence. "What is its purpose?" The question caught the humans off guard. It was Secretary General Morgan, a seasoned diplomat, who found the words to respond. "It's a story," he said simply, "a reflection of who we are, our fears, our hopes, our capacity to sacrifice for something greater than ourselves." Vorith was silent for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. "There is much we do not understand about your kind, but this story, it has shown us something we cannot ignore. Perhaps we have been too hasty in our judgments." The shift in tone marked the beginning of a new chapter in the negotiations. The KLYRN, though still cautious, expressed a willingness to engage in deeper dialogue. Vorith requested access to more of Earth's films, citing their potential as a window into humanity's psyche. The request was met with both curiosity and trepidation. Could cinema, long dismissed as mere entertainment, truly bridge the gap between two civilizations? Over the following weeks, the KLYRN immersed themselves in Earth's cinematic history. They studied classics like To Kill a Mockingbird, 12 Angry Men, and Schindler's List, each film offering a glimpse into the complexity of human morality and resilience. They marveled at the humor of Charlie Chaplin and the poignancy of The Grapes of Wrath. For a species that had abandoned storytelling, the experience was both enlightening and humbling, but it was Casablanca that remained at the heart of their fascination. The KLYRN, who valued efficiency above all else, were struck by the film's willingness to embrace ambiguity. Its characters did not adhere to rigid archetypes. They were flawed, conflicted, and deeply human. To the KLYRN, KLYRN, this was a revelation. As the negotiations progressed, Earth's representatives began to notice a change in their counterparts. The KLYRN, once cold and detached, became more willing to listen, to ask questions, to seek understanding. Vorith, who had initially dismissed humanity as inferior, began to see them as partners in a shared journey. The turning point came during a joint screening of Casablanca aboard the KLYRN flagship. Delegates from both sides gathered in a makeshift theater, their differences momentarily set aside as they watched the film together. When the credits rolled, the room was filled with a profound silence. It was Vorith who broke it. "There is a line in this story," he said, his voice steady but reflective. "The problems of three little people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world, and yet those problems matter, to them and to us. This is what we have forgotten, that the small, the personal, can shape the vast." His words marked the beginning of a historic agreement. The KLYRN and humanity, united by a shared appreciation for the power of stories, pledged to work together to address the challenges facing their worlds. Resource-sharing initiatives were established, scientific collaborations flourished, and cultural exchanges deepened the bond between the two civilizations. For Vorith, the experience was transformative. In the years that followed, he became an advocate for the rediscovery of storytelling within KLYRN society. Under his guidance, the KLYRN began to create their own narratives, drawing inspiration from the films that had opened their eyes to the richness of the human spirit. As for Lila Carver, her act of defiance became the stuff of legend. Recognized as a hero by both humans and KLYRN, she was invited to speak at the first Interstellar Summit, where she reflected on the power of cinema to bridge even the widest divides. "Stories," she said, "remind us of our shared humanity, or whatever it is we call the spark that connects us all." And so, Casablanca became more than a film. It became a symbol of peace, a testament to the power of narrative to transcend barriers and forge understanding. For the KLYRN and humanity, it was the beginning of a beautiful friendship. The newfound bond between the KLYRN and humanity began to reshape both civilizations. On Earth, the idea that a single film could bridge the gap between species inspired a renaissance in storytelling. Filmmakers, writers, and artists across the globe sought to create works that celebrated the shared experiences of all beings, human and otherwise. For the KLYRN, the impact was even more profound. The rigid hierarchies of their society, built on the principles of efficiency and logic, began to soften. Vorith, once a symbol of unyielding order, championed the integration of artistic expression into education and public life. "We must remember," he declared during a KLYRN assembly, "that stories are not distractions. They are the foundation of understanding." One of the first major collaborative projects between Earth and the KLYRN was the creation of the Interstellar Film Exchange. This initiative allowed filmmakers from both species to share their perspectives and techniques, leading to the production of hybrid works that blended human emotion with KLYRN precision. The first such film, Horizons United, depicted a fictionalized account of the Casablanca incident and was met with acclaim on both worlds. But the journey toward unity was not without challenges. A faction within the KLYRN, known as the Purists, opposed the changes brought about by their interaction with humanity. They viewed the embrace of storytelling as a regression, a return to the chaos their society had worked so hard to overcome. Led by a charismatic figure named Murlocs, the Purists launched a campaign to restore the old ways, accusing Vorith of betraying their civilization's ideals. The conflict came to a head during the preparations for the first Interstellar Film Festival, an event designed to showcase the collaborative efforts of Earth and the KLYRN. The Purists, seeking to disrupt the festival, sabotaged the KLYRN flagship's communication systems and broadcast messages warning of the dangers of cultural contamination. Vorith, deeply shaken by the attack, convened an emergency council to address the growing divide. He turned to human advisors, including Lila Carver, for guidance. "How do you address those who fear change?" he asked, his composure masking an undercurrent of doubt. Lila, now a seasoned diplomat, offered a measured response. "You remind them of what they stand to gain," she said, "and you do it through the same means that brought us together, stories. Show them the strength in connection, the beauty in diversity. Let them see the possibilities they're afraid to embrace." Taking her advice to heart, Vorith initiated a bold plan. He invited Murlocs and the Purists to attend a private screening of Casablanca, hoping to spark the same revelation that had moved him. Though initially resistant, Murlocs agreed, his curiosity outweighing his disdain. The screening was tense, the atmosphere charged with skepticism. Murlocs Murlocs and his followers sat in stony silence as the film unfolded, their expressions betraying little. But as the final scene approached, Rick's farewell to Ilsa at the airport, something began to shift. Murlocs, despite himself, leaned forward, his gaze fixed on the screen. When the credits rolled, the room was quiet. Vorith, seizing the moment, spoke directly to his rival. "This story is not about weakness," he said. "It is about strength, the strength to sacrifice, to connect, to hope. Is that not what we aspire to as a people?" Murlocs' response was measured, his tone less combative than before. "There is merit in your words, Vorith, but stories alone cannot rebuild a civilization." "Perhaps not," Vorith admitted, "but they can remind us of why we build in the first place." The exchange marked a turning point. While the purists did not fully abandon their stance, their opposition softened, allowing the festival to proceed without further incident. The event was a resounding success, drawing attendees from across the galaxy and showcasing a dazzling array of films that celebrated unity and creativity. Among the highlights was a documentary created by a KLYRN filmmaker titled The Sparks We Forgot. The film explored the ancient origins of storytelling within KLYRN culture, tracing its decline and eventual resurgence through their interaction with humanity. It was a poignant reminder of how much the KLYRN had gained by embracing what they had once dismissed. As the years passed, the bond between Earth and the KLYRN deepened. Collaborative projects expanded beyond cinema to include music, literature, and theater. The purists, though still a presence, became a minority voice, their influence waning as more KLYRN embraced the transformative power of stories. For Vorith, the journey was both humbling and inspiring. In his later years, he authored a memoir titled A Beautiful Friendship, reflecting on the lessons he had learned. In the vastness of the cosmos, he wrote, "It is not logic or power that defines us, but the connections we forge. Stories are the threads that bind us, weaving a tapestry that transcends time, space, and species." Lila Carver, too, became a legend in her own right. Her decision to broadcast Casablanca was hailed as a moment of visionary diplomacy, and she continued to serve as a bridge between Earth and the KLYRN. When asked about her role in the historic events, she would often deflect, saying, "I didn't change the galaxy. A story did," and so Casablanca became more than a film. It became a symbol of what was possible when beings from different worlds chose to listen, to connect, and to hope. For the KLYRN and humanity, it was the beginning of a story that would be told for generations. A story of peace, understanding, and the enduring power of narrative to illuminate the darkest corners of the universe. The success of the Interstellar Film Festival marked the beginning of a cultural renaissance for both the KLYRN and humanity. The festival's impact rippled across the galaxy, inspiring other civilizations to explore their own histories and embrace the power of storytelling. What began as a diplomatic experiment evolved into a movement, uniting beings of all kinds in a shared appreciation for the universal language of narrative. But the road ahead was not without its challenges. As Earth and the KLYRN deepened their collaboration, they encountered a new adversary, the Tharn Dominion, an empire that viewed the growing alliance with suspicion. The Tharn, known for their militaristic society and disdain for sentimental distractions, issued an ultimatum to the Stellar Nexus: dissolve the cultural exchange or face the consequences. The threat cast a shadow over the second Interstellar Film Festival, raising questions about the cost of unity in the face of hostility. Vorith, now a respected statesman, faced mounting pressure to abandon the festival to avoid conflict. But he remained steadfast. "If we yield to fear," he declared, "we lose more than a celebration. We lose the very foundation of what we have built." To counter the Tharn's aggression, the Alliance of Civilizations prepared a defense. Yet, it was Lila Carver who proposed an unconventional strategy. "The Tharn fear what they don't understand," she argued. "Let's show them the power of what they dismiss." Her plan involved broadcasting a curated selection of films directly to the Tharn's homeworld, bypassing their government and reaching the hearts and minds of their citizens. The decision was met with skepticism, but with Vorith's support, it was approved. The broadcast began with a sequence of Earth's most iconic films: Casablanca, It's a Wonderful Life, and The Shawshank Redemption. These were followed by KLYRN documentaries and experimental films that explored themes of resilience and hope. The final broadcast was a collaborative film titled The Bridge Beyond Stars, which depicted a fictionalized account of Earth and the KLYRN's journey toward unity. The response from the Tharn was unexpected. While their government dismissed the broadcast as propaganda, reports of citizen unrest began to surface. The Tharn people, long conditioned to view emotions as weaknesses, found themselves moved by the stories. Underground movements emerged, calling for reforms and an end to the Dominion's isolationist policies. In a historic turn of events, a group of Tharn emissaries emissaries reached out to the stellar nexus, requesting an audience with Vorith and Lila. The meeting, held aboard the KLYRN flagship, was tense but hopeful. The Tharn delegates, though wary, expressed a desire to understand the Alliance's vision. Vorith, drawing from his own transformation, spoke of the strength found in connection and the courage it took to embrace change. The dialogue paved the way for a tentative truce. While the Tharn Dominion remained cautious, their overt hostility waned, allowing the cultural exchange to continue without further threats. As the Alliance flourished, the KLYRN began to rediscover aspects of their own lost heritage. Excavations on their homeworld unearthed ancient artifacts, tablets inscribed with poems, murals depicting legendary figures, and instruments that had once filled their cities with music. Inspired by their collaboration with humanity, the KLYRN embarked on a journey of cultural restoration, integrating their past with their present. Humanity, too, found itself transformed. The partnership with the KLYRN led to a deeper understanding of their own stories, prompting a reevaluation of how narrative shaped their identity. Films once dismissed as relics found new life as tools for education and diplomacy, their timeless themes resonating across generations and species. For Vorith and Lila, the journey was both personal and profound. Their friendship became a symbol of what was possible when differences were embraced rather than feared. Together, they worked to expand the interstellar film exchange, establishing academies where beings from all civilizations could learn the art of storytelling. In the twilight of their careers, Vorith and Lila co-authored a book titled Stories of the Stars. Part memoir, part philosophy, it chronicled the events that had brought their worlds together and explored the enduring power of narrative to transcend barriers. The book became a bestseller across the stellar nexus, its message resonating with readers of all backgrounds. And so, the alliance between Earth and the KLYRN became a beacon of hope in a galaxy often divided by conflict. It was a testament to the power of storytelling to bridge the widest divides, to illuminate the darkest corners, and to remind all who listened that they were part of something greater. For the KLYRN, humanity, and the countless civilizations they inspired, Casablanca remained a cherished symbol, a reminder that even in the vastness of the cosmos, the problems of three little people could shape the destiny of entire worlds. It was a story they would tell for generations, a story that began with a film and ended with a beautiful friendship. As the years passed, the alliance between Earth and the KLYRN became a cornerstone of the stellar nexus, a growing community of civilizations united by shared values and mutual respect. The annual Interstellar Film Festival evolved into a cultural phenomenon, drawing participants from every corner of the galaxy. It became a celebration not just of storytelling, but of the connections it fostered. One of the festival's most anticipated events was the unveiling of the Living Archive, an ambitious project that blended KLYRN technology with human creativity. The archive was a holographic repository of stories, accessible to anyone in the Nexus, that allowed users to experience narratives in immersive, interactive ways. From walking the streets of 1940s Casablanca to witnessing the birth of the KLYRN civilization, the archive became a bridge between past and present, reality and imagination. The project was spearheaded by Lila Carver and Vorith, whose vision for the archive reflected their shared belief in the transformative power of stories. During the inaugural ceremony, Lila addressed a crowd of thousands. "This archive is more than a collection of tales," she said. "It is a testament to what we can achieve when we choose to see each other not as strangers, but as fellow travelers on this journey we call existence." Vorith, now regarded as one of the KLYRN's most influential leaders, added his own reflections. "Stories are the light that guides us," he said. "They remind us of who we are, where we've been, and what we aspire to become. In sharing our stories, we create a legacy that transcends time and space." The Living Archive quickly became a hub for education, inspiration, and diplomacy. Young beings from across the galaxy flocked to the archive, eager to learn about cultures and histories that had once been unknown to them. Scholars and diplomats used it as a tool for fostering understanding and resolving conflicts, finding common ground in the shared experiences of their ancestors. But the archive's most profound impact was felt in the hearts of everyday beings. A KLYRN engineer, inspired by the resilience depicted in human films, designed a revolutionary energy system that brought power to remote settlements. A human artist, moved by the elegance of KLYRN aesthetics, created a series of paintings that reimagined Earth's landscapes through an interstellar lens. Stories, it seemed, were not just a means of communication, they were a catalyst for change. Yet, amidst the festival's success, a new challenge emerged. A rogue faction known as the Shadow Collective, comprised of disillusioned members from various civilizations, sought to exploit the Living Archive for their own ends. They believed that the archive's ability to shape perception could be weaponized, turning stories into tools of manipulation. The threat prompted the Stellar Nexus to convene an emergency council, bringing together representatives from all member civilizations. Vorith and Lila, though no longer in active leadership roles, were invited to provide guidance. Their presence alone was a reminder of what the Nexus stood for: unity, understanding, and the power of hope. During the council, Vorith delivered a speech that would become one of the defining moments of his legacy. "Stories are a reflection of our choices," he said. "They can be used to divide or to unite, to harm or to heal. It is our responsibility to ensure that the stories we tell serve the greater good, that they inspire connection rather than conflict." His words galvanized the council, which enacted new safeguards to protect the integrity of the archive while strengthening its role as a force for unity. The Shadow Collective, though a persistent threat, found itself increasingly marginalized as the Nexus rallied around its shared vision. In the years that followed, the Living Archive continued to grow, its narratives weaving a tapestry of interstellar experiences. It became a symbol of what was possible when beings chose to listen to one another, to learn from their differences, and to celebrate their commonalities. For Vorith and Lila, the archive represented the culmination of a journey that had begun with a single film. In their twilight years, they often reminisced about the night Casablanca had been broadcast into the void, unknowingly sparking a chain of events that would change the galaxy forever. "It was never about the film," Lila said during one such conversation. "It was about what it represented, the courage to reach out, to connect, to believe in something greater than ourselves." And yet, Vorith replied with a rare smile, "It was the film that taught us how to begin." When Vorith passed peacefully in his sleep, his legacy was honored across the Nexus. Monuments were erected, festivals were held, and a new section of the Living Archive was dedicated to his life and work. Lila, though grieving the loss of her friend, found solace in knowing that their shared vision would endure. In her final address to the Interstellar Film Festival, Lila reflected on the journey that had brought them to that moment. "Stories are the stars that guide us," she said, her voice steady despite the emotion in her eyes. "They remind us of who we are and who we can become. And as long as we continue to share them, we will never lose our way." And so, the story of Casablanca and the alliance it inspired became a legend, told and retold across the galaxy. It was a reminder that even in the vastness of the cosmos, there was room for connection, for understanding, and for hope. For the KLYRN, humanity, and the countless beings they touched, it was a testament to the enduring power of narrative to illuminate the darkest corners of existence and bring light to all who sought it. The Galactic Nexus entered a golden age, and the legacy of storytelling became its foundation. The Living Archive grew to include billions of narratives, each a thread in the vast tapestry of interstellar experiences. As civilizations continued to evolve, they turned to the archive not only as a source of knowledge but as a guide for navigating challenges both great and small. The annual Interstellar Film Festival remained the centerpiece of this cultural renaissance. On the festival's 25th anniversary, a special tribute was held to honor the story that had started it all. Delegates and attendees from every corner of the galaxy gathered in a grand amphitheater aboard the Seraphis Prime, now preserved as a historical monument. The event featured a remastered screening of Casablanca, accompanied by an orchestral performance that blended human instruments with the harmonic tones of KLYRN resonance technology. As the iconic lines echoed through the amphitheater, "Here's looking at you, kid, and we'll always have Paris," there was not a dry eye among the audience. Lila Carver, now a revered elder and the last surviving member of the original alliance, was invited to deliver the keynote address. Though her years had slowed her step, her voice carried the same conviction that had once inspired a galaxy. "When I sent Casablanca into the void all those years ago," she began, "I had no idea what would come of it. I only knew that, in the face of uncertainty, we must reach out. We must share our stories, our dreams, our humanity. Today, we stand as proof that even the smallest act of hope can create ripples that change the universe." Her words were met with a standing ovation, a testament to the enduring impact of her actions and the alliance she had helped to forge. As the festival concluded, a new addition to the Living Archive was unveiled, a narrative beacon designed to transmit the archive's stories into the farthest reaches of the cosmos. Powered by advanced KLYRN technology, the beacon would ensure that the light of these stories could guide not just the Nexus but civilizations yet unknown. The launch of the beacon was a moment of profound significance. Delegates from every civilization gathered to witness its ascent, their differences set aside in a shared celebration of unity. As the beacon ascended into the star-filled sky, its light shimmered like a constellation, a reminder that even in the darkest corners of the universe, there was always room for hope. For Lila, the sight was both an ending and a beginning. As she gazed at the beacon, she felt the weight of the journey she had undertaken connection, and the promise of the stories yet to come. This is our legacy, she thought, a gift to the stars. In her final days, Lila recorded a message for the living archive, a reflection on the journey that had defined her life. Stories are the bridges between worlds, she said. They remind us of our shared struggles, our shared triumphs, our shared humanity, or whatever it is that connects us all. They are the light that guides us home. When Lila passed, her message became a cornerstone of the archive, a touchstone for generations to come. Her name, alongside Voritha's, became synonymous with the alliance that had transformed the galaxy. And so, the story of Casablanca and the beautiful friendship it inspired lived on, a beacon of hope and unity in a universe often divided. For the KLYRN, humanity, and the countless civilizations they touched, it was a reminder that even the smallest story could change the stars. In the vastness of the cosmos, the light of those stories continued to shine, guiding all who sought connection, understanding, and the courage to believe in something greater than themselves. And as new civilizations joined the Nexus, adding their own threads to the tapestry, they found that the power of storytelling was not bound by time or space, but was as infinite as the stars themselves. Decades after Lila's passing, the Galactic Nexus continued to flourish, its unity a shining example of what was possible when civilizations chose collaboration over conflict. The living archive, now spanning countless volumes of interstellar experiences, became known as the heart of the Nexus. Visitors traveled from distant stars to contribute their own stories, ensuring that no voice, no perspective was ever lost. On the 50th anniversary of the first Interstellar Film Festival, a grand ceremony was held to honor the legacy of the Alliance and the story that had started it all. Among the attendees was a young KLYRN historian named Tavel, who had dedicated his life to studying the origins of the Nexus's cultural renaissance. As Tavel stood before the beacon that transmitted the archive's stories into the void, he felt a profound sense of connection to those who had come before him. We are all storytellers, he thought, and in sharing our stories, we become part of something eternal. The ceremony included a reenactment of the original broadcast of Casablanca, performed by an interstellar ensemble that blended human and KLYRN talents. As the iconic scenes played out, the audience was reminded of the courage it took to reach out, to bridge divides, and to believe in the power of narrative to transform the universe. In a moment of poetic symmetry, a new message was encoded into the beacon, designed to accompany the archive's transmissions as they traveled through the cosmos. Written in the languages of every civilization in the Nexus, it read, "To those who find this, know that you are not alone. Across the stars, we have shared our stories, our dreams, and our light. May they guide you, as they have guided us, toward connection, understanding, and peace." As the message was launched into the infinite expanse, the Nexus celebrated not just its past but its future, a future defined by the stories yet to be told. For the KLYRN, humanity, and the countless beings who called the Nexus home, the story of Casablanca and the alliance it inspired became more than a memory. It became a living testament to the resilience of hope, the power of connection, and the magic of stories to illuminate even the darkest skies. And so, the light of those stories continued to shine, a beacon of possibility for all who followed. In the vastness of the cosmos, where time and distance could often seem insurmountable, it was the stories that reminded them of what it meant to be truly alive.